in that blood-stained home. Two watched it happen, but left them alone. BK's the patsy in their crooked frame job, while Moscow PD fudges facts, bunch of dirty slobs. DM saw a killer 3 feet in the hall, heard whimpers and crying through the thin bedroom wall. But she locked her door tighter as the footsteps passed by, while 4 friends lay dying. Ask yourself why. 8 hours silent, too long, while heartbeats ran cold. See cold. That's not just trauma, that's the story they sold. 8 hours too late. Why wait? What were they hiding that night? Hiding. 8 hours too late. Conspiracy covered in morning light. Did they scrub the crime scene? Scrub it. Coordinate lies. 8 hours too late. While the FBI framed an innocent man. Why wait for sunrise? Why call friends first? Tell me why. Unconscious person that rehearsed lines the worst. Were they destroying evidence, washing blood down the drain? Insane. Texting the real killer, the cops are a train. ISP altered body cam footage with shame. Shame on you. FBI pressured witnesses to play their game. Play the game. That party house reputation, secrets they'd keep, while Brian's the sacrifice, so the guilty sleep. 8 hours silent, calculated, while alibis set in stone. That's not just shock, that's a debt to be met. 8 hours too late. Why wait? What were they hiding that night? Hiding. 8 hours too late. Conspiracy covered in morning light. Did they scrub the crime scene? Scrub it. Coordinate light. 8 hours too late. While the FBI framed an innocent man. 3 agencies weaving their tapestry fake, while roommates were buying time for evidence to break. Did the killer pay them off? Were they holding the stash? 8 hours of silence while the blue lights flash.
Good evening on a Thursday evening, which is a little strange for me. I did a Wednesday too. But I'll tell you what, these docs are driving everybody freaking nuts. And we have been working on names and stuff. We haven't, even come close to finishing shit. We know a lot of the names though, but tonight is, this is getting crazy, folks. This shit almost wants me to get everybody together and write a fucking letter to the damn Attorney General of the United States and say, look at this fucking case, because it is bullshit. Total fucking bullshit. And everything that ISP, the Idaho State Police, and the FBI they hand over to Moscow Police Department. So it's like the Moscow Police Department have these extra people, but they all get the information. They get the fucking information. And I think that's fucked up too. But I'm going to read some shit tonight that's just crazy. And I don't know if you've heard this stuff before or not. I don't know what anybody else is doing. I'm concentrating on our shit because that's the way it's got to be. I had one creator come in and say some shit to me yesterday saying, I've seen this and blah, 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 blah. Well, not my opinions on it. So I don't know what's going on out there right now. I haven't had a chance to go look at anybody's shit or anything. I'm concentrating on us and on this channel and what we present. But anyway, this is some crazy shit, folks. And I'm going to just get right. Well, I'll say hi to the crime family first, though. I got to do that. Elizabeth, good to see you. Mrs. Johnny Knapp, good to see you. Debbie Gazzardo, my girl, good to see you. Pirates Cole, good to see you. Elizabeth, good to see you. Jackie Bushabell, good to see you. Wade Bird, good to see you. Cute Cats, good to see you. Snow Leopard, good to see you. Aggie, good to see you. Always good to see you. Matt, good to see you. Snow Leopard, good to see you. Debbie Gazzardo, my girl, good to see you. Joe P, good to see you. Social Glow, my girl, good to see you. Gemini, good to see you. Karen Joy, good to see you. Mimi, good to see you. T-Taj, good to see you. Mark and Betty from the UK, always good to see you. Rocket Queen, good to see you. Truth, Justice, True Crime with Anna D, good to see you. And let's see. Keep scrolling up. All right. And everybody that's chatting. Eve Lucky, good to see you. Coco, my girl, good to see you. Kim B, good to see you. I think that's supposed to be Sunny Edit. SXNNY Edits. Good to see you. Elizabeth, good to see you. Mystic Virgo, good to see you. Teresa, good to see you. And everybody chatting and all the non-chatters alike. Okay, let's get down to this shit because this is really crazy shit. And we're going to start off with this. Boom, bam, bam. And come on, I'm waiting for you. Bam. Get this out of the way. Okay, so what we have here is JD's testimony. All right. This is his statement to Detective Van Leuven, or whatever his name here, who is not from, let me get this straight here, who is not from the Moscow Police Department, all right? This is the state police here. Okay, so anyway, I interviewed JD at the Idaho State Police District 1 office on November 15th, okay? So this is 2 days actually after the Red Rums, all right? JD was the ex-boyfriend of victim Kaylee J. Gonzalez. JD had been dating Kaylee since they were in high school and dated on and off approximately 5 years. JD said they had broken up approximately 3 months earlier due to her taking a job in Austin. Well, okay, I'll keep going. And it had been a mutual decision with no drama. Let's remember that, folks, okay? He's saying that there was no drama. It was a mutual decision. Everything was cool. Let's remember that. JD advised that he was driving a blank and blank. He said, and I do believe this is probably an Elantra, isn't it? That what we know. He said that this vehicle was owned by Kaylee's parents, and they were allowing him to drive the vehicle. Okay, so that's Steve's vehicle that he's letting JD just drive, even though they're split up. Sounds like Kaylee wanted to split up, and the parents were like still pushing Kaylee to be with JD. And Kaylee was out having some fun. I've already proven that. I have even showed the people that she had been with and stayed overnight with. She was out having fun. JD advised that he lived at blank in Moscow with a number of roommates. JD listed his roommates as, well, we know one is Adam Latta. So Adam Latta's in here and whoever in here and blank and the blank. I noted that the location of blank apartment and the crime scene were near each other. I noted JD and his roommates were all members of blank. I think that's Delta or something fraternity. I can't remember right now. I asked JD to describe his whereabouts and events leading up to the time of that the homicides occurred on Saturday, November 12th. JD advised that he was at work at the blank, blank, blank between 2:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m., working mostly in the kitchen. JD drove home to the duplex and went upstairs where he found roommates blank and blank. Also present was a friend who was not a roommate named blank, blank, blank. Blank, blank, excuse me. JD went downstairs, changed into a sweatshirt, got a beer, and waited for a sober driver who was a blank freshman to come pick them up. JD said that the sober driver arrived in what he thought was a black Nissan Xterra and took him blank and blank to the corner club. JD said they arrived at the corner club around 11 p.m. He said the club was packed and they were admitted in because his roommate, Adam Latta, was working at the club and let them in. JD said he got into a confrontation with the blank member named blank because blank had been messing with one of his friends. And we do believe this is Cole Berger. JD friend blank blank who was there told Cole, I think, to lay off, and blank bought each other a shot. So I'm thinking this is JD and Cole bought each other a shot after they were done with that confrontation. JD said he saw Kaylee at the club that night. It was not uncommon for Kaylee to be at the club. We know that. JD said that he thought Kaylee was accompanied by, okay, and we know this is Maddie and whatever, and Jack Showalter, who was blank's girlfriend, whatever. JD said he left approximately 1 a.m. JD said he, blank, and blank were picked up from the club by blank, who was the president of, I think it's the Delta fraternity, is that right? And returned to their apartment. JD said he had consumed 2 beers, 2 shots of tequila, 1 shot of Rumple Mints, and 32-ounce tub of beer. JD said after returning to the apartment, he hung out with his roommates for a period of time, tried to throw up but couldn't, and went to bed. What a bunch of shit that is. Whatever. JD said he woke up around 11:30 a.m. the next day. So he slept, from about 2 o'clock in the morning all the way till 11:30. Oh, okay, sure. JD said blank, 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 and blank came into the apartment and talked about cops being down the street near 1122 house. He tried to call Kaylee on the phone, but no answer. JD said he walked down the street where Kaylee's apartment was and saw blank, who was Ethan Chapin's blank. So I would probably think this is maybe Hunter and brother, maybe, who saw something, maybe something like that. JD said he asked one of the officers on the scene to tell him what was going on and told an officer that his ex-girlfriend lived in the house. JD said police put him in the back of a patrol car for about 45 minutes. Also present sitting with blank was another blank blank. Said blank was a good friend of Kaylee's. At some point, the University of Idaho put out a text, university-wide, announcing homicide had occurred. At my request, JD drew a sketch of Kaylee's apartment and labeled the rooms by the names of the persons he knew to be living in each room. I have attached these drawings to the supplement and will transfer them to the Moscow Police Department. Let's remember this shit, people. Let's look at how everything goes to the goddamn Moscow Police Department. Like the most corrupt police department in Idaho. I will also scan these sketches and place the scans on a disc to include the audio recordings of JD's interviews as well as other documents. I asked JD if he had any idea who could have been responsible for committing these homicides. JD advised that he had seen a video from the grub truck on Main Street. Okay. The night before, showing a blank member named Blank seeming to follow Katie and Maddie Morgan from the area of the grub truck. Now, let me ask you this. He went to bed at 2 a.m., got up at 11:38 a.m. How did he see the video from the grub truck from the night before if he got up at 11:30 and went right over to the deal? Something ain't making sense. And I'm sure this is probably Jack Showalter. Remember, named Jack Showalter seemed to follow Katie and Maddie Morgan from the area of the grub truck before they went home. JD also advised that he had heard from Blank that a man named Blank had been acting predatory. That's got to be Cole Berenberger. Has been acting predatory at the Corner Club the night before, and that the Corner Club had kicked him out. I asked her to describe what vehicles the four victims drove. JD advised Maddie drove a white Chevy Cruze, Kelly drove a silver Range Rover, Ethan drove a red Jeep Wrangler, and Xana Cronulla drove a blue Honda Civic. JD returned on November 17, accompanied by his. Oh, wait a minute. Wait, I'm not done here. Check this out. We took a break, and JD left the room to speak to his mother, who was concerned about JD. Upon returning from speaking with his mother, JD said he wanted to continue the interview. Hold on a second here. He wanted to continue the interview. Oh, excuse me. He did not want to continue the interview without a lawyer being present. Okay. And I wonder if he cried at all, right? I mean, here's his girlfriend of 5 years. It doesn't say anything about him being emotional whatsoever. Not emotional at all. We stopped the interview and JD left. JD returned on November 17th, accompanied by his attorney, Jed Nixon. After a brief recap of what we had discussed on November 15th, we resumed talking with JD about his recollections of what had happened on the night of the homicides occurred. JD said that he, Blank, and Blank got back to their apartment a little after 1 a.m. I'm sure one of these is Adam Latta. He said his bedroom was on the main floor. He said he hung out with his friends for 10 to 15 minutes. JD advised he was drunk. Now, we seen that picture of him at the grub truck, or in the bar. He did not look drunk to me. He looked like he was sat there. He was sitting there talking to Kaylee and Maddie, and he looked fucking fine. Anyway, I asked him to estimate on a scale of 1 out of 10 how drunk he was. JD said he would put his level of intoxication at an 8 out of 10. Bullshit. Anyway, JD advised he had never experienced memory lapses. Okay? He had never experienced those before. Had never walked in his sleep and had never acted while asleep. JD advised he went to bed at approximately 1:20 a.m. JD said when he woke up the next day, he noticed that he had a number of missed calls from Kaylee and Maddie. There was approximately 7 from Kaylee and 3 from Maddie. JD said that he had no argument with Kaylee the night before and that there was no dispute and no one was upset about anything. But let's keep going. I noted in looking at phone records, but there had been several text messages. Now, this is the detective speaking here. I noted in looking at phone records that there had been several text messages the night before between JD and Kaylee. The last text message from Kaylee to JD at 2:15 a.m. telling him she had his vape and that he could come pick it up at her house. I advised JD that there appeared to be a telephone call at 2:26 a.m. between JD and Kaylee that lasted approximately 17 minutes. JD said he did not recall the phone call and cannot explain it. JD said maybe in his sleep he thought it was an alarm and he pushed aside a button of the phone to turn the ringer off. What? Oh, what the? Oh, my God. What the fuck is going on? Unfucking believable. Had a 17-minute phone call with Kaylee, but he can't remember what it was about. Can't fucking remember. Doesn't even remember talking to her. Fucking bullshit. No, Mrs. Knapp, because it said it was Kaylee's ex-boyfriend. It's not Jake. You're right, Wayne B. Exactly. I mean, there is so many fucking lies. Back to the reading. I have learned that JD had been referred to the blank because one of his professors was concerned about blank. The blank website states the mission of the blank is to provide care and concern for students, faculty, staff, and great, all these redactions are not fucking necessary, people. JD said that he had been missing more classes than normal and that the breakup with Kaylee had been bothering him. Oh, wait a minute. Did he just say a little while ago that, everything was good and cool and everything? The breakup with Kaylee had been bothering him. He talked about her going to Texas and the fact she initiated the breakup. Now, does this fucking sound like everything was kosher between those two? Does it? Does it sound like everything was fucking kosher? Doesn't sound like it to me. Exactly, translucent. I know. I know. And I've showed some of this stuff, but I haven't showed it all. And if people only knew how much was going on, they'd be going, oh my God. Anyway, to the reading. I asked directly if he had committed these murders. He stated that he did not. JD consensually gave a DNA sample at my request. He also consensually gave his cell phone to be downloaded. I later took the DNA samples and transferred them to the custody of the Moscow Police Department. I took thumb drive containing the download from JD's phone and transferred that to the custody of the Moscow Police Department. I just don't believe this shit. JD signed consent forms for both his DNA and for the download of his phone. I have scanned these forms and placed them on a disk, which will be transmitted to the Moscow Police Department. So they're not doing their own investigation, people. They're working for the damn Moscow Police Department. As Chief Price said, this is our investigation. This makes me sick. The remainder of my conversation with JD on November 7th, 22 involved victimology-related questions. Please see audio recording for more details. And I sure hope to hell we get these audio recordings. I had a number of follow-up questions and interactions over the course of this investigation, vital with blank. JD was cooperative and helpful throughout. Yeah, but you can't see through the lies? You can't see that he's telling you, oh, everything was kosher between us, but then he says, I was worried about, it bothered me about Kaylee, and it bothered me. She was moving to Texas. Motherfucker. On November 18th, 22, JD consented to a search of his room, and this is on the 18th, people. This is 5 days later. 5 days later. Consented to a search of his room, bathrooms, common areas, and downstairs laundry of his apartment in Moscow. Forensic scientist Carrie Hogan, Idaho State Police Detective Jeff Talbot, and I entered the apartment at 21. This doesn't make sense either. At 21:17 on the 18th. Remember that number. After searching the areas JD had consented to, we found a drop of possible blood on the wall of the entryway. A sample of this was collected. We also noticed what could have been 5 or 6 small drops or runs of blood on a kitchen wall. Samples also were collected. This search and collection of possible bullet drop samples was documented through photographs by forensic scientist Hogan. We left the apartment at, this doesn't make sense, 2020. Now, how did they get there at 21:17 and leave at 2020? Are these... Documents related to the consent, including the consent form and maps and picture prepared by blank, are included on the disc. The original documents will be attached to this supplement and transferred to the Moscow Police Department. The search was also documented by video recording. These recordings are placed on a disc and will be transferred to the Moscow Police Department. I had additional follow-up questions with JD on November 18th, 2022, November 21st, 2022, and November 22nd, 2022. The conversations on the 21st and 22nd were recorded and are on disc. Why didn't he say what was all said on these dates? Why didn't he write a thing? JD advised that he and Kaylee were co-owners of a mini golden doodle dog named Murphy, who was 11 months old. Murphy had been in the house with Kaylee and the others the night of the murders had occurred. On January 4th, 2023, I contacted JD through his attorney, Jed Nixon, and asked him to bring Murphy to the Idaho State Police. On January 4th, they finally asked for Murphy to take samples of his hair. And someone put Murphy in a shelter, and then someone went and stole Murphy from the shelter and stole the impound papers. What the fuck is going on with this case? If it acts like a fucking rat, it is a rat. Something is up with this case. Contacted JD through his attorney, Jed Nixon, and asked him to bring Murphy to the Idaho State Police office in Coeur d'Alene so I could take samples of Murphy's hair. Well, isn't that something on January 4th, 2023? You think he had a bath by that time? You dumb fucks. JD brought the dog in, and I clipped some samples from 3 places: the top of his head, the mid-back, and from the chest area. How much you want to bet the person that stole Murphy from the impound lot gave him a bath immediately? How much you want to bet? And, of course, the samples were transmitted to the Moscow Police Department on January 5th, 2023 by Detective Tollison. Unfucking believable, folks. Unbelievable. I'm going to get to something else. I want to see what my crime is saying about this shit. Hold on a second. Okay, so anyway, what is my family saying here? Amanda says they went looking for blood on the dog's hair. Then, laughing out loud, they were trying to see if it related to the hair in BK apartment or if the dog was sedated since it had no blood. But the thing is that they were testing for blood. They were testing for blood. And to test for blood in January, I mean, it doesn't even fucking make sense. Wade Bird, yep. But part of the point is the lack of urgency. They should have, that moment when they went in and talked to JD, they should have went and got a search warrant for his house that day, not later, days later. They should have made sure that Murphy was secured, which they thought he was. I mean, that shit is crazy. Crazy ass shit. Yes, corruption sold that. I mean, I don't know what to do about this shit because something has to be done. I mean, this is just too much, man. It's too much. No, I got something else going on here. If I can find it. What numbers is this? I'll be right with you, folks. Now, back, I had, and a lot of people said I was wrong. Is that it? Okay, that's it. So now, hold on a second. Okay. So anyway, let's go through this. Whoops. Idaho State Police Detective. No, I haven't gone through this yet. I was told about it just before I came on here. So Idaho State Police Detective Michael Van Leuven, or whatever his name is, had first called blank on December 4th, 2022. He was in Dallas, Texas, and would be back to Coeur d'Alene the following Tuesday when he would come in for an interview. Blank called back at on December 6th, 2022, and agreed to come in the following day for the interview. So here's a dude from Texas. Everybody said, oh, no, she's moving in with the girl, Ashlyn, or whatever the fuck. No, she wasn't. She was moving in with a dude from Texas. On December 7th, 2022, FBI agent Zawkowski and I interviewed blank regarding his presence in Moscow on the weekend of the homicides, as well as his relationships with some of the victims. This was both an elimination interview as well as victimology interview. Blank was completely cooperative and friendly throughout the process. Blank consented to give a DNA sample, which I took using buccal swabs. I later transferred those swabs to the Moscow Police Department. Boy, they got everything, even the swabs. How much DNA? I bet you. And they did have BKs. They had Brian's DNA. And between Moscow and Othram in Texas, when Mr. Payne brought it there, it doubled in size. Yeah, the Moscow Police Department. Anyway, Blank also consented to download his phone for forensics examination. This was done while the interview was conducted. This phone number was blank. A copy of this download was provided to Moscow Police Department. I have scanned the consent and form and placed a scan on a disk which will be transferred to the Moscow Police Department. Blank name had come in through tip number 5594. The information in this tip alleged that Blank resides in Coeur d'Alene and frequently visits Moscow, where he stays in a travel trailer. The tip further alleges that Blank is acquainted with victims Kaylee Gonzalez, Maddie Morgan, and had pressured them to join him at this trailer on the night before the murders, but they refused. The tip further alleges University of Idaho student Blank had refused advances over Labor Day weekend, and that Blank had became violent and threw a vape at her. So let's read this again. The tip further alleges University of Idaho student, and I do believe this is Gonzalez, had refused blank's advances over Labor Day weekend and that blank had become violent and threw a vape at her. Blank said he lives in Coeur d'Alene and works at the blank in the blank department. Blank said he had traveled to Moscow for the November 12th, 13th weekend. He said he had traveled to Moscow for the purpose of attending University of Idaho football game in which his friend blank blank played for the Vandals. Blank advised he had traveled to the game with blank's parents who pulled their travel trailer for the game. Blank said he knew Gonzalez, Morgan, and Zanacronoto from blank, whatever that is. Blank said he, Gonzalez, and Morgan all attended blank together, and Coronado had attended school in Post Falls. Blank related that he had several friends that were students at the University of Idaho. Blank said he had talked to Gonzalez, but they had never dated. He said Gonzalez and Morgan, this is different than I was told, could not. Morgan said they were going to a Greek party, said he and his friends could not go because they were not Greek. Blank said his friend blank blank lived in the blank in Moscow, and that after the game he had hung out at the blank trailer for a while and then had gone to someone's apartment. Blank said he ended up going to an off-campus party at a house northeast of the blank apartments that he referred to as a golf party. A golf party? Golf clubs. Because the University of Idaho golf players lived there. He said most of the people that were at this party were student athletes from the University of Idaho. Blank said immediately after the game, they had hung out at Blank's parents' trailer. After that, at approximately 8 or 9 p.m., they left to go to the golf house party. Blank said he estimated 50 to 100 people were present for that party. Blank said he stayed at that party for approximately 4 hours and then went back to the blank apartment between 1 and 2 a.m. Blank said Blank had a friend who was a female blank named Blank who had an apartment near blank blank. Said he and some of his other friends went to blank apartment and hung out there. This might be white apartment, maybe white apartments. Blank said he ended up sleeping at white apartments maybe that night. Blank said a couple of the other girls had shown up at blank apartment that night, but he did not know their names. Blank said he never went to the house where the homicides occurred and had no additional contact with girls that night. Blank said he tried calling Morgan the next day. Anyway, this isn't what I was thinking it was. I don't know. Did I get the wrong number on that or something? Whoops, I forgot to send this message. This is some crazy shit, though, people. I mean, all of this stuff. Okay. We're waiting here just a little bit. I do want to look. Yeah, that's what that was. Yeah, 181. I do believe. Let me look. Yeah, that was 181. We just got to give it a little time here, people. I just, this case is really everything on this case. And to give everything to the Moscow Police Department, I mean, ISP isn't even doing their own investigation. Really, all they're doing is working for the MPD because they're giving everything to the MPD. I mean, it's just crazy. And here you got JD, and now we find out that there was blood drops in JD's apartment. Right, Jackie. I'm just waiting for some numbers if it comes up. I don't know if the JD stuff's been read before or not. All I know is it's a bunch of bullshit, and the lies in there. I mean, he lied. He actually lied in there, and he said that everything was fine between him and Kaylee, and then all of a sudden he's saying, "Well, I had a problem with Kaylee and moving to Texas and blah blah blah. You had a problem with that. You had a problem. I know you had a problem with Murphy leaving. I know that shit. And where's that at? Okay, where's that? Just need the numbers. All I need. This case gets really tiring. All right, it'll just be a minute here. It does. It gets really tiring trying to go through this, and everybody's bitching about the redactions, and even trying to go through. Even a couple of my producers, they know the names, but when you're trying to do it on a redaction, it is totally crazy because you're trying to figure out the situation and what name actually matches what they're doing. And that's how it gets crazy and not very easy. And I don't, everything's supposed to be done with the case, right? Everything is supposed to be fucking done. And I'll tell you what, if Brian does not, if he does not do an appeal, he's a dead man. He's a dead man. That's all I can say. He's a dead man. He has to, call girl. He has to. Or he's a dead man. He can't get away with the stuff because they're going to look at him and say he's a privileged white boy. He's a dead man. He's a dead man. Okay, thank you. Let me get over here. I know where I have to go now. And we're going to read something else about somebody else. Where am I at here? So here we got number 170. All right. On November 18th, 2022, Idaho State Police Detective Gary Tolson and I, Detective Sergeant Michael Van Leuven, interviewed, and I do believe this is Eric Gower, date of birth 1994, at the Moscow Police Department. Eric was the driver, okay, that had dropped Kaylee Gonzalez and Maddie Mogan off at their apartment prior to the homicides. As Eric was one of the last people to see the victims prior to the homicide, he was a person of interest in the investigation. Eric cooperated fully and completely with our inquiries. Eric provided his telephone and consented to a search of the phone, as well as providing us with the password for the phone. The phone was downloaded during the interview and returned back to Eric just before he left. The consent from the form for the phone was scanned and the scan placed on a disk to be given to the Moscow. I'm so sick of that shit. Eric also consented to giving us a sample of his DNA. I took the samples using buccal swabs. I transferred these swabs to the Moscow Police Department. Eric removed his shirt and allowed us to look for any injuries he might have on his arms or torso. No injuries were observed. This interview was recorded with both audio as well as video recordings, which I bet we'll never see. I hope we do. One thing when I was trained in the 16 different personalities, right? Body language is huge. And to actually see them speak these words is a whole different thing than just reading it. These recordings have been placed on a disc and referred to the Moscow Police Department. Eric advised that he was a driver for both blank as well as blank. These are too short to be Kaylee and Maddie. I don't know what he's saying there. He drove a blank bearing Idaho license plate. He said one of the only drivers in the area that serves Moscow. We covered some biographical history regarding Eric. On Friday, November 11th, 2022, Eric had worked until 3 a.m. He started driving again between 10:30 and 11 a.m. on the 12th. Beginning at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, he had steady work until 3 or 4 in the morning. Advised his wife was not a fan of him staying out late driving, but that weekend she was out of town. That's kind of weird too. You know what I'm saying? That's when men that run around, men like to do that. But she was out of town with their parents in Hayden, Idaho. Eric advised that he had given Kaylee 10 to 15 rides since last school year. Eric said he had also given Maddie rides, but didn't know about Ethan and Zana. Eric said, how can you give Kaylee and Maddie a ride, but didn't know about Ethan and Zana? I don't get that. Did you give them a ride or didn't you? You wouldn't remember? Fucking weird. I wonder what the fuck he smokes. Anyway, Eric said that around 10 p.m., Kaylee had texted asking for a ride to the corner club. Eric thought that there were 3 girls on that ride. Eric advised he drove them directly to the house where Kaylee lived. Advised he drove them directly from the house where Kaylee lived to the club. He advised he had driven this route several times before. Eric said he doesn't remember what the conversation in the car was about on the way to the club. He said he has not heard or overheard any problems from the group of people that Kaylee is usually with. Eric said he tries his best not to be a creep. Oh, yeah, but you are a creep. That's the thing. Why would he say that? He tries hard. Or he tries his best. Listen to this. He tries his best not to be a creep. I mean, that's funny shit, people. He has to try his best not to be a fucking creep. Why would he say something like that? Eric said he got another text from Kaylee at 1:45 a.m. asking to be picked up at the grub truck. Eric said when he picked Kaylee and Maddie up at the grub truck, Kaylee sat in the front and Maddie sat in the back. Eric said he drove the two girls directly from the grub truck to their house. Eric said that Kaylee was a little more drunk. What? 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 Eric said Kaylee was a little more drunk than Maddie? Oh my God. People, this is madness. Eric said when he got to the house that the lights were on and that there were 4 cars parked in the driveway. He said he noticed a black SUV on the left side sticking out. A black SUV on the left side sticking out. He also said there was a silver car on the road. A silver car. Geez, I wonder if that wasn't a Ford fucking Fusion. Huh? You think? Eric did not notice anyone walking on the road. Eric watched the girls go into the house. Eric said on this occasion they didn't pay him for the ride. He said that was not unusual and that he expected they would pay him later. I wonder why they didn't pay him, because she had, what, $154 on her? Eric said he never gave rides for free, and there was always the understanding that they would pay. Eric said he has never been into the house or anyone's house as a driver. Eric advised that the girl's state of inebriation was pretty standard. Eric said that this ride was off the books, meaning that it was not managed through, must be Uber driver or whatever. The girls had his number and contacted him directly and said that 5 to 10% of the rides he gives are off the books. Eric said he did not go back to the girls' residence that night. When asked to provide an alibi, Eric stated that he was home at the time of the homicides. Eric said he could support him being home at the time of the homicides by providing security camera footage from around his house, showing his vehicles parked there and what time he got home. I asked him to provide a copy of this footage to the Moscow Police Department, and he said he would. I was later advised that he had brought a copy of that footage into the police department and turned it over to them. Eric said he first became aware of the homicides through the Vandal Alert text. Eric said he was shocked that this kind of thing never happens in Moscow. When asked if he had any idea who could have committed these crimes, Eric described an event that occurred approximately 1 month ago at the public restrooms downtown near Friendship Square. He said he stopped to use a bathroom at 1:30 to 2:30 a.m. and there was a thin-billed white male in his 30s with tattoos approximately 5 feet 10 inches tall in the bathroom wearing a white tank top. And why would somebody be in the fucking bathroom at 1:30 to 2:30 a.m. sharpening and cleaning a fucking fillet knife? Sharpening a fillet knife. Who does that kind of shit? I'm telling you. And they say Moscow is it's a great place. It's a mellow place to live. Yeah, they sharpen their fucking knives at 1:30 or 2:30 in the fucking morning in the bathroom, a public bathroom. Oh, my God. This shit is fucking crazy. Where the hell am I? What number was I on? Oh, there's so many of this bullshit. Where am I at here? I, hold on. Okay. Uh, where am I at? So it's up here. And nothing further. But who does this shit, people? Who does this shit, people? At 1:30 to 2:30 a.m. in the public bathroom, sharpening their fucking fillet knife. Who the fuck does that shit? I guess only in Moscow, right? Who is this about? Since we're here, okay, and this is kind of weird. Okay, this is kind of weird. I'm just going to go into number 171 here a little bit. This is on the tip line now. Contacted law enforcement to provide a tip about a woman named Blank. Said a man she worked with at the Blank in Moscow told her about a story he had heard from Blank about a man Blank had met prior to the homicides who might be the Red Rummer. Blank forwarded a picture of a typewritten statement dated November 17th, 2022. Blank had made regarding her memory of the conversation with the man. A scan of that written statement has been placed on disk and will be transferred to the Moscow Police Department. Oh my God. In this written statement, Blank writes about a conversation she had with a stranger between 3 weeks and 2 months ago prior in front of some business named Blank Blank. Described the man as a big guy, tall and burly with reddish brown hair. Blank said the man had purchased a soda from a vending machine in front of her business, and that was where the conversation took place. Blank writes that this man, said he was homeless, living out of his van, and had recently been parking in front of the Blank, and police told him to park somewhere else. Blank wrote the man said he had been accused of shoplifting from the Blank that morning. Blank wrote that the man talked about a knife he had, how sharp it was, and that she would be surprised how many people it could take out in a short time. Blank wrote the man, then talked about a sorority girl who worked at a restaurant downtown. What the fuck? Wrote the man, then talked about a sorority girl who worked at a restaurant downtown. I bet you it's a Mag Greek who had snubbed him and that she would regret it. And that she would regret it. Blank further wrote the man said he knew the girl lived on the other side of the university to the south. What the fuck? Blank agreed to an interview and came into the Moscow Police Department. Blank recounted verbally what she wrote in her statement. Blank advised she had narrowed down the day she met the stranger as being October 18th, not even a month, plus or minus a couple of days. In an attempt to identify the person blank claimed to have spoken with, we conducted numerous interviews with people associated with the blank to include big long reduction and blank. We queried Moscow Police Department records regarding the reported contact with the man in the van at blank. Through conversations with the blank people, as well as the Moscow Police Department records, the occupant of the van was identified as blank. Blank was well known to the local law enforcement and was contacted in this case. When shown a photograph of blank, blank said that was not the man she reported talking to in front of her business. We also interviewed several people associated with the blank, including blank manager and the manager blank. None were aware of a shoplifting complaint as described by the stranger in a statement. But the main thing here is that he said that she would be surprised how many people that knife could take out in a short time. Blank wrote the man, then talked about a sorority girl who worked at a restaurant downtown who had snubbed him and that she would regret it. Blank further wrote the man said he knew the girl lived on the other side of the university to the south. And you know what house they're talking, what he's talking about. The stranger in Blank's statement, Blank had mentioned she had suggested to the stranger that he contact the blank next to hers in a search of a job. We interviewed Blank, the owner of Blank. Blank said he had never met the stranger, but had heard about him from Blank. All these interviews were recorded as audio. The audio was placed and blah, blah, blah to the Moscow fucking police department. I'll tell you what, man. Nothing further, nothing further, nothing further, nothing further, nothing fucking further. It's fucking all bullshit, people. It's all fucking bullshit. That's all I'm going to say. It's all fucking bullshit. I just, what has to be done in this fucking case? I mean, they're trying to say a man that has spectrum autism and a certain spectrum where he's awkward socially, and they stick him in fucking prison. Saying that he went with a knife, killed 4 people when there was 5 vehicles outside, didn't have any connections to them whatsoever, didn't know if they were packing a gun that could have shot him right in the fucking head. And this is what we're supposed to believe. Craziest bullshit I've ever seen in my life. And reading these documents, it just pisses me off more and more of how Ann Taylor could allow him to plead guilty when she had all of this. She had to read this shit. Me too, call girl. It's fucking ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous. And we can talk about other cases, Delphi, any of these fucking cases. Coyote, all of them. But none of them are like this. None of them. It's so, Lee, you got it right there. That's the word. It's so that he's disappointed with Ann. And I'm disappointed with the whole case. And I'm disappointed with Anne. I thought she was doing good for a while, but then it was like a month, maybe 6 weeks before the case. But she was getting slammed shut. She couldn't use anything, and I doubt that she was going to even be able to use these tips. So this guy that's sharpening a fucking knife wouldn't be allowed, or the guy that said you wouldn't believe how fast this knife could take out how many people. How many people? You'd be surprised how many people this knife could take out in a short time. And a girl snubbed him at a restaurant, which we know is a mad geek. And I'll bet you money it was Maddie, because Maddie was spunky. Through these almost 3 years, going on 3 years, we have gotten to know these kids. And it just saddens my heart because they were so special. They were so special. And sometimes I wonder if that specialness that they had wasn't the cause of their red rumps. I've been told this by a very good friend when I was in music, and there was a lot of people in different bands that weren't very nice to me and things like that. And this one very, very good musician came up to me and he said, Tom, he said, you have a very special light. There's a light around you. You shine. Your light shines. And they try to take that shine away. And I'll never forget that. And I wonder, was there somebody so jealous of these 4 kids' shine that they wanted to take them out? There's other weird things about this case that should be mentioned and should be paid attention to a little more. And that is the only ones left in Greek life were the ones that are still living. The rest of them had quit their sororities and fraternity. The person that was in the house that night and said, don't worry, I'm here to help you. You know who I think that was directed at? Dylan. That was directed at Dylan, and Dylan fucking knows it. I know, and there's somebody in chat out here that knows this also, that black SUV was parked in front of 1122 for about 20 fucking minutes. And that's during the time that Brian's car was supposed to be taking off and speeding away. That black SUV was parked in front of 1122. I've seen the fucking video myself with my own eyes. Where is that video? I have a feeling I know who has it. But getting it is another story. the thing is, these investigate did ISP and FBI even look at the fucking shit that they all the evidence that they had, or did they just write it down, bloop, right to the Moscow Police Department? Oh, write it down, type it out, bloop, right to the Moscow Police Department. Did they even fucking look? Did they do their own investigation like they're supposed to? Sounds to me all they were was record takers. And then hand everything over to Moscow Police Department. Chief Fry quit. How many others quit? Retired. Got the fuck out of there. But here we sit. And there's Brian sitting going, I'm being sexually harassed. The man has autism. He's socially awkward. He's not going to make it in prison. He is going to be whacked. Yeah. Oh, really? Okay. I do. Just so you all know, I have producers in the backstage that help me out, and they give me numbers, and they help me out. And that's why it takes sometimes a little longer. Like tonight's show, you know what? I decided at what the hell time was it? 6:30 to do this show. Okay, well, maybe I'll look at that. Maybe I will look at that. Well, maybe we should save that for another show. Yeah, what you talked about there back here. Both of those. Now that we know who they are. Good job on finding out who they were. Okay, anyway, that's what I have. I'm pissed. I'm pissed that this case has gone to where it's gone. I'm pissed that BK has to scream and holler that he's being sexually harassed when he shouldn't even be in there. Just really gets to me. Anyway, I want to thank you all. Thank all my subs. I love you all. The chatter subs, I love you, and the non-chatter subs, I love you. And you are my heart, and my mods, and my producers, and my investigators. You are my soul. And I guess it's that time to rock and roll. Till next time.
baby's back, she's dressed in black. Why silver buttons all down her back? Why high-low, tipsy toe. She broke a needle now and she can't sew. Walking a dog, walking a dog. If you don't know how to do it, I'll show you how to walk that dog. Why ask a fella for 15 cents? You see that fella, he just to jump that fence. Why so high that he touched the sky? She didn't come back till the 4th of July. Walking a dog, walking a dog. If you don't know how to do it, I'll show you how to walk that dog. Woof, woof. Mary, quite contrary. Just tell me, how does your garden grow? Why silver bells, you got cockle shells. Pretty maids all in a row, walking the tower, walking the tower. If you don't know how to do it, I'll show you how to walk that dog. I'm just a walking, I'm just a walking, I'm just a walking, I'm just a walking. If you don't know how to do it, I'll show you how to walk that dog. That's a little bit of a walk.
I haven't done this very often, but I'm doing it now. Something important's come up, and I'm going to read it right now. I just give me a second to find it. It won't take me long. I've never done this, but this to be very important, I guess. So I'm going to take the word of my producer and run this. Just scrolling down until I get there. Getting closer. Very close. Very close, and I'm here. Okay, let me. Yes, this should be very good. I need to find out a couple of the things about this first here. Let me. Yep, I got it. I got it. Okay. And let me ask one question. Okay. Let me get back to myself here. So only the ones that stayed for the music is going to get this. This is pretty huge, people. There's something I didn't know. I can tell you that. It's something I didn't know. And here we go. Let me get this out of the way and I'll read this, baby. Supplement number 200. Gonzalez had a babysitter for a family in the Moscow, Idaho area during the summer of 2022. The family, blank, date of birth of 85, blank, date of birth of 88, and their two children lived at blank. After the interview with blank, I obtained blank's phone numbers. I requested the cast agents to check the time frame for which we had cell phone data at the time. Blank's data appeared to place blank's phone at the residence on the night of the red rooms. However, when I checked blank's phone data, his location was not within the data collected. This can occur if the phone is turned off based on the information from the blank and the lack of data for blank. We decided to interview both. On December 9th, 2022, ISP Detective C. Herman and I interviewed blank at her place of employment. She works for blank. Blank had not sent any tips regarding Gonzalez's employment with her as a babysitter. Now that's kind of weird, you know. She gets red rummed, and they don't call and say, "Hey, she worked for us. She was a babysitter." Okay, I mean that's kind of odd. I began the interview with blank and asked her if Gonzalez had been babysitting for her or any other families. Blank confirmed Gonzalez did babysit for her and may have babysat for another family, but wasn't sure. Blank told me her husband, blank, had introduced her to, I'm sure that's Kaylee, who coordinated childcare for, maybe not, for blank, stated there were approximately 5 sorority sisters who would provide childcare for the blank family or whatever. It stated that the only way she paid the girls was via the Venmo app on her phone. Blank stated Gonzalez had provided childcare for them for a few weeks during the spring semester of 2022. She told us the last time Gonzalez babysat for them was on her 21st birthday. Blank stated Gonzalez had babysat for 5 or 6 times total. Blank stated they paid each girl $15 an hour for their work. Blank stated Gonzalez was not a full-time employee. Blank stated most of the work occurred during the week. I asked Blank what a normal routine for her family was when there was a football game at home, because Blank, period, Blank explained that her family usually attend the home games, and for the game on the 12th, 2022, they had family in town for the game. Blank stated she attended the game and then went home after. Blank told me she did not see any of the victims of the murder at the game. Blank told me her and her family, minus Blank, were at home when they found out about the red rum that occurred at the university, near the university. She told me Blank was in the office when the University of Idaho Kibbe Dome when it was put back into lockdown situation. What are you saying here? You guys are confusing me. I asked Blank about her personal interaction with Gonzalez. She described her as bubbly and a great person. Blank said the only time she ever saw her not happy was after her 21st birthday. Blank told me Gonzalez arrived at her house to watch the children, appearing to be hungover. Blank said she helped Gonzalez feel better. I asked Blank if there were any other applications other than a messaging application they used to communicate or schedule babysitting. She told me there wasn't. I asked how the girls who babysat were paid. She told me it was all through Venmo. Blank stated she was paying the girls $15 an hour to babysit. Blank told me she never had any conversations with Gonzalez outside of babysitting, except for when Gonzalez arrived at her house to babysit on her 21st birthday. Blank told me Gonzalez quit being a babysitter for her, and Blank learned Gonzalez had accepted a job as an intern for some sort of IT company. Blank told us all that for the new job, Gonzalez was going to work remotely for the IT company and offered to continue watching the kids during the summer. Blank explained she learned the internship was a 40-hour-a-week internship that paid $25 an hour. Blank told me the last time she had contact with Gonzalez was in July of 22. Towards the end of the interview, I asked Blank if there was ever an inappropriate relationship between herself and Gonzalez, or between Blank and Gonzalez, or any inappropriate relationship with any of the other babysitters. Blank told me there had never been any inappropriate relationships that she was aware of. Blank told me that Blank had little to no interaction with any of the babysitters. Must be talking about her husband. The only one who ever attended dinner with the Blank was Blank. When we concluded the interview with Blank, I then contacted Blank and met with him in the Kibbe Dome of the university campus. Okay, so this must be the husband. He agreed to sit down for an interview with us. At approximately 11:37 a.m., we began an interview with Blank. I'm just going to say with husband, okay? With husband. I explained why we wanted to talk with husband. Husband was not nervous and not afraid to speak with us. Blank explained he was a blank for the blank. Went on to explain he met, I think that must be Katie, while working, and asked if she would be willing to babysitting. Why do they blank? Why do they X this out when they've already said Gonzalez up there? They say Gonzalez right here. Why don't they just fucking say it where it's supposed to be? God, this is the shit that drives you nuts trying to figure this shit out. and they do it on purpose. It didn't even save her phone number in his phone for obvious reasons, and appeared very conscious of how it may look if it was contacting female students. Blank stated he was not involved very much with the babysitting and did not handle any of the logistics of it. Outside of blank, had no contact with the other babysitters and told us he had met Gonzalez maybe 2 times. Any interactions he had with the babysitter was mostly in passing. Blank confirmed Blank's statements of how they knew Gonzalez and how the babysitting operation was performed. Blank explained that after games, he would meet with, it must be Gonzalez, at a location off campus. Husband told us that on the day of the incident, he was notified of the Red Rums when he was already in the Kibble Dome game planning for the next week. We asked the husband if he had seen any of the victims after the football game the night before they were found. He said he had not seen any of the victims after the game. I asked husband what he did after the game. He stated he went to Best Western as a custom after games with other blanks and then went home. I asked the husband what his contact was like with the Gonzalez's, maybe. He told me his phone was always on and that blank could reach out to him if need be, but that was not the standard, so it must be Kaylee. I asked if his phone was normally on 24/7. He said it was. After explaining the totality of the circumstances and the link between him and Gonzalez, I asked the husband if he would be willing to provide a DNA sample. We explained the sample is going to be used to rule out or match a person to any evidence that may be obtained. We also explained the DNA sample would not be placed into the national database. He ultimately agreed, and we obtained a sample from him. That sample was later given to the Moscow Police Department and processed according to their policies and procedures. That bothers me on everything. I also asked if blank had inappropriate relationships, the husband had any inappropriate relationships with any of the victims or students at the university. The husband denied any inappropriate relationships. There were no other tips or statements to say otherwise. The husband told me the only interaction he had with Gonzalez outside of babysitting was when she arrived at the house to watch the kids and she appeared hungover. He told us what his wife took care of her. We concluded our interview. Okay. This wasn't, I thought this was huge, but it isn't. I'm sorry. Oops. What do I got to do here? Got to do that. But there's plenty of people. That's, they knew a lot of people. That's all I can say. There's a lot more. I think that people don't know that goes anywhere, but whatever. I don't know. I was told to do this. Yeah, I'd like to know my family too, but there's nothing there. Not in my opinion. There's nothing there. Anyway, you guys have a good weekend, and yeah, and back up to 182. For those of you that just came in, start at the beginning. Start at the beginning. That's all I can say. I love you all. Take care and have a good evening.